I've worked with some incredibly talented Hollywood composers, one of them being Junkie XL. I walked away learning lessons I still use every day. And I'm not just talking about theory stuff, I'm talking about real, tangible lessons that you can apply to every aspect of your music. Hi, my name is Dylan DeRosa, and I'm a professional composer for film, TV, video games, and YouTube, funny enough. And I started from micro indie projects and worked my way up. In this video, I'm going to take you through 3 experiences that changed the way I look at music, and I still use these 3 ideas every single score I write, including one concept that most composers never even heard of. And if I knew what I'm about to show you 10 years ago, it would have saved me a lot of rejected cues. At least, that's what they say anyway. Writing a catchy drum groove. Here's something that most composers get wrong, and it's not what you think. It's not the sounds, it's not the samples, it's not your production. It's the structure on how you build the groove. This is the idea. Start with a 2-bar groove. Simple groove. Let's play it again. Now, after you've had your 2-bar groove, now make it a 4-bar groove. But this is the secret. I just want you to take bar 1 and make that your bar 3. And bar 4 is where the magic is going to happen, because we're going to slightly vary it. And this is how you make an effective 4-bar loop. Let's show the example. Bar 1 becomes bar 3 exactly. Repeat it. Don't vary it at bar 3. That's where most people screw up. It's bar 4 where you want to slightly vary it. You need repetition to create a foundation, a structure for the listener. Remember, you're always holding their hand and walking them through your piece. So creating them something of an anchor their ear can grab onto will allow them to listen to your piece and follow it. Too much variation in the beginning, and then your listener will be confused and it will be chaotic. And that's it. That's your 4-bar groove. It doesn't need to be constantly evolving. The formula is the point. So now, what do you do after you have that 4-bar groove? Well, you make it an 8-bar. You make it a 16-bar. Maybe on bar 8, you vary it slightly. Maybe on bar 16 now, you vary it slightly. But you don't have to. The 4-bar groove is the main idea. And you can keep repeating the formula, or you could just repeat your 4-bar groove depending on your composition. Now you have repetition and you have development, and you're not showing off. You're creating a consistent repetition that the listener can hold on to, but you're varying it slightly here and there at the most opportune moment, and that's how you create an effective groove. Now, what do you do once you finish your 8-bar, 16-bar groove? Well, you create a B groove, a B rhythm. It's just like melody. Melody A, melody B. This is what gives your groove life, the push and pull between the 2 rhythms. Rhythm A could be your bombastic adventurous, and rhythm B could be just your laid-back background. Rhythm A could be, I'm in your face, I'm going to show you this groove because the whole piece is built around this moment in this groove. And rhythm B could be, I'm taking a step back and letting you enjoy the music, but I'm still there to support it. Let's show you the example of rhythm B I wrote. Same formula. I took 4 bars, varied it on the 4th bar, and then I repeated it and varied it on the 8th bar ever so slightly. That created my 8-bar phrase, and now I can repeat A and B. And I have my A rhythm and B rhythm. And I have a full piece of music right here with my grooves. And think of it more like a conversation between 2 ideas. Well, let me show you a real example of a professional composer kicking ass, showing exactly how you write an effective groove. A and B. This is Crew at War Power from Justice League by Junkie XL. I'm going to show you his A rhythm. The whole piece is built around this A rhythm, from what he does with the bass guitars to the strings to the percussion. This whole piece is built around this rhythm alone. Let's play the example. That's kick-ass rhythm. So after that, Tom developed his piece and he came up with a B rhythm. Do you see the effectiveness of what happened between the two ideas, the conversation between A and B rhythms? The A rhythm was the standout point. It was the big moment. This piece is built around the A rhythm. And then when the B rhythm happens, he takes a step back. He lets the music, the melodies, the big cinematicnism, that's a word? The big cinematic moments play out. And the rhythm is just there to support it, to keep that forward momentum going. Let's just do a quick preview again of that. That's the rhythm. He's saying, hey, I'm the rhythm, I'm the drums, pay attention to me. And then when the B part comes in, the rhythm is still there. It's very strong. It's keep the form momentum. But now he has the horns melodies. You got the string doing the counter lines. He's developing more. So the B rhythm takes a step back. That's an effective idea. That is an effective A rhythm and B rhythm. And that's what Tom does brilliant. And showcasing this, bar 3 is identical to bar 1. Bar 4 is where the magic happens. Slightly variation. See this? Beat 1 and beat 2 are identical. It's beat 3 and 4 has a slight variation. And that's what creates this ever-ending growing groove that you can just keep listening to, but it slightly varies here and there, and you're okay with it. You could just keep repeating it, and he builds a whole piece around it, and that's why the magic works. That's why the formula works. And he does the same thing with the B rhythm. We take bars 1 and 2, and we'll just drag that over and see the magic. Bar 3, identical to bar 1. Bar 4, first 2 beats identical. It's beats 3 and 4 that have a slight variation. You could do it just on beats 3 and 4. You could do it on the whole bar of 4. The point is, bar 4 is the magic that you vary, and that's where you change. And that's how you create an effective groove. But here's the thing. Even with a perfectly crafted groove, it could still sound wrong in your mock-up production. Why is that? So you've written a groove, but something still feels off. It sounds stiff. It sounds clinical. It sounds like a machine wrote it. What makes a drum performance feel magical is not everyone sounding like a machine on the grid all the time. It doesn't sound quantized. It's the messiness. This is something that opened up my eyes, is to create a realistic mock-up. Not everything's on the grid. It's the slight imperfections and the tiny mistimings between hits. Some drums hit slightly ahead of the beat and some drums hit slightly behind it, but not enough to create a huge flam hit. But that's what gives live drum ensembles their big cinematic weight. They're big hits. It sounds huge. Let me show you one bar of the groove that's quantized exactly, and the next bar will be the identical rhythm, but played soft quantized ramization, and you can hear it back and forth. One bar quantized, one bar soft quantized. Do you hear how it becomes a little fatter and wider? Well, don't worry. If you can't hear much of a difference, that's okay. I'm going to play it really pronounced here for you so you can really get the picture. But trust me, this works. It just sounds more open, more realistic to actual players because no one can play identical rhythms, the identical timings. Everyone has a slight mistiming. And that's why my tip is ±3, ±5. I've sometimes, depending on tempo, have done 7 and 11. Experiment a little bit higher if that works, but 3 and 5 has been always the sweet spot that I use. But here's where things really get interesting and something I learned working at the highest level. Is now that you've got your groove and you've messed with the MIDI timings and it's sounding really real, the next step is actually the size of the ensemble. We're talking 12 different drums layered together. That's your big cinematic top level climactic sound. But music is all about development. So you've got your big cinematic sound, and then at the exact right moment, you pull it back to a smaller ensemble. So now instead of 12 drums, you've got 6 drums, or maybe 4 drums, or maybe 3. It's just different, smaller, more focused in. The contrast when the big moments hit is what makes this level of craft genius. Let's go back to our Crew at Warpower example and show Tom doing exactly what I'm talking about here, and you can hear it in the soundtrack. Here's the first example we showed of Rhythm A. Now, after he does his B rhythm, he comes back to the A, and I'm going to showcase that now. Listen intently to the sound. The drum size is slightly smaller. You're probably going to hear a bit more high drums in this and not enough weight to it, and that's important. Focus in on that. Let's do a little chop and play them back to back so you can really hear it pronounced. Don't mind me. I'm just going to chop this up real quick. All right, check this out. You hear it? It sounds like the original Focused A is a bit more in front of you, has more hit, more focused in the low mids. And on the second time, he's doing it just a bit more of the high. So he probably took out some of the low drums in it and just give a different color, like different color shift. The sound is always evolving over time. Let's show an example with the groove we wrote in the beginning of this video. I'm going to play some toms, and then we're going to add more toms, and then we're going to play different toms, and you're basically going to hear this 8-bar groove evolve even though the rhythm is the same. So now that your groove is written, it sounds like a real performance, a real ensemble, and you know when to go big and when to pull it back slightly to give some color shifting. But here's the thing. Here's the most important lesson I learned. The third thing I took away from working at this level, and it goes way beyond drums, way beyond groove writing. And honestly, it's the one thing I hope everybody takes away from this video because it's the most important lesson. I'm referring to using a sonic signature. A sonic signature isn't just a melody or a theme or motif. It's a sonic idea, a sound, a texture, a harmony. It could be melody. It could be a group of melodies. It could be a song. It could just be the synth pad that you play on every time a character enters. It's consistency throughout the film. That's the importance of it. Sometimes it becomes attached to a character. Sometimes the sonic signature becomes attached to a location. Sometimes the sonic signature becomes attached to an idea, a feeling. The secret is every time the audience hears it, they know exactly what they're supposed to be feeling and hearing. They're like, oh, okay, this sound, this style belongs to this moment in the film, this location, this character. And you're staying true to that. And that's the magic. You don't need a full theme then. You just need a sound. You need a sonic signature. Let's take one of the most famous examples from this, and probably everybody knows this and they're just not thinking about it, is Hans Zimmer's Dark Knight. The opening of the film states it right then and there. The Joker theme. He boiled it down to a sonic signature because it really isn't a theme. It's not even a motif. It's a sonic signature. It's this idea that when this long note that just keeps growing and growing, becoming more unstable and chaotic, that's the Joker's sound. So every time you hear this, you're feeling on edge. You're feeling nervous. You're feeling like the cage has been rattled. And that's the secret. That's Hans Zimmer presenting a sonic signature. Let's take Squid Game for another example. The use of classical music is what makes it odd against everything else in the score. Most of the score is either this electronic guitar atmospheric or the Korean ethnic kind of world drums that happen, during the games. But the use of classical music is important in that score. Because the classical music is not this safe, beautiful piece anymore. It's used to represent death. The looming danger of the games. Life and death. Rich versus poor. That's why the importance of the classical music is there. It's to combat the idea that you're feeling safe. And Crew of Warpower. That's a sonic signature. Tom creates an iconic drum groove and just keeps going with that. The sonic signature is the drum groove. It's the sound of the drums. Here's another example when I worked on FBI's Most Wanted and working with the music team, and we had this call center episode. And I built this sonic signature, this kind of electronic Brahm kind of, guitar push into an amp distortion really loud, created this big chaos kind of sound. And this sound is what created this on-edge tension. And every time we were in the call center and stuff went wrong in the call center, this is the sound that happened. And that's the thing, it doesn't even need to be melodic, it just needs to be a sound, a signature sound, a sonic signature. Remember, sometimes for a sonic signature, the sound itself doesn't even matter. It's just the commitment to the sound, the representation of the sonic signature, the placement of it for the audience, something the audience can attach to. If you establish it early and repeat it consistently, let the audience's brain do the rest of the work for you. Before, I was chasing melodies and themes and just wanting to always have a melody and theme. And don't get me wrong, I still do. But now, when I first work on a project, I ask, well, what kind of sonic signature can I write for the film? Maybe you have restrictions and you can't write a strong, memorable melody, but you can always write a sonic signature, whether you have melody or whether you don't. You can create the world for the project you're working on, and a strong sonic signature will still leave an impact on the audience. And because you're a composer, that doesn't mean you can't just have a sonic signature and it stays static throughout the whole time. Music isn't static. Music is life. Music grows. So develop your sonic signature. And that right there is why composers like Hans Zimmer is the best, is because they are masters at evolving their sonic signature. They take a small sound and idea, and over the course of their 2-3 hour film, they have evolved it. They've created a world based on their sonic signature. That is masters at their craft. So start practicing now, creating sonic signatures and evolving them. It's something that you should think about on every project. Hey, if you made it this far, thank you so much. I'm generally so grateful you're watching these videos. And if any of these lessons and tips help you skip some of the mistakes that I made, that's the whole point. If you want more videos, check out that corner over there and stay tuned for the next video.